So I'm pleased to introduce the next lightning talk speaker. It's me. Hi. Um, it's me, Rachel Riggs. I am a technical advisor at World Education. I lead these monthly EdTech Strategy sessions. So I think I've interacted with some of you quite a bit if you're a regular attendee. And like Justine, I work on a variety of projects for EdTech Center. Including what I'll be talking quite a bit about today, which is the IDEAL Consortium, innovating digital education for adult learning. The IDEAL Consortium fuels the EdTech strategy sessions. We get the topics from our IDEAL members, and we address those topics throughout the year. Many of our speakers are recommended by IDEAL members. And so we are really, really proud and excited about our IDEAL community and the way that they enable us to provide these sessions. So today I'm going to talk to you about crash courses, the crash courses we developed for teacher professional development. And before we get started, I have a few questions. My first question for you is, when is the last time you used your spare time to learn something new? So think about, I like to think of it as the margins of your day, those little small margins throughout your day. When's the last time you used one of those margins for your own professional development or learning? Just think on that for a minute. And that's why I put spare time in quotations, because I think probably none of us have spare time, but we somehow make it happen. Okay, and I see that we're getting a lot of responses. Some are doing that right now. Duolingo for Spanish last night. I've definitely done Duolingo, just definitely that's the kind of margin I'm talking about. I've done it while making lunch, late at night. Yes. Now, next question is, which of these logos you see? So you see Blackboard logo, YouTube logo, Kahoot. Which of these tools for the last 9 years, according to this survey, has been the #1 top tool for learning? Do you know the answer to that one? Okay. If you said to YouTube, that is correct. YouTube is the top tool for learning for many years now. So we know that educators take the margins of their day to engage in learning, expand their knowledge, and grow. And we know that they use a very common and free platform to do that. And my last question here is, looking at this graph, this represents the 2022 to 2023 program year in adult education, that data and the NRS data. And the whole pie are all of the teachers that are reflected in that. One color here indicates part-time or volunteer teachers, and another color indicates full-time teachers. I want to know if you could guess who is who. So which color goes with which type of employment? Yes. Okay. Wow. My questions were too easy, obviously, because you're getting them all right. Yeah. So the blue is for part-time/volunteer. The orange is for full-time. So we've established that there are margins of our day that we can use to learn, but that spare time is, kind of a laughing, like a joke of a phrase. That YouTube is where a lot of people turn to do workplace, education, personal learning, and even formal learning. And that in our field, being part-time or volunteer, that is what the vast majority of our teachers are. So when we talk about microlearning, I think, I thought about doing a slide that said, why microlearning? And then I realized, you know what, I probably don't need to make much of a case for microlearning with this audience, because we're very familiar with the challenges around teachers' time and the need for professional development and opportunities for them to reskill in a convenient and fast kind of way. So what is microlearning? Microlearning is characterized primarily by being short, micro. So you'll see that defined differently in different places in terms of what length it is. but we're calling it 7 to 30 minutes. It's typically self-directed, so it's not necessarily gathering people together for 10 minutes for a microlearning. It's typically a self-directed experience. It's usually digital, so you might use paper-based learning, of course, and do that in a short and self-directed way. But in the way that we'll talk about it today, it is facilitated in a digital format. And it also shows promise. So there is a body of literature around microlearning, and it's shown promise for teachers in terms of their satisfaction with professional development because it is convenient. It's a good way for them to access information and new knowledge. It also shows promise specifically for teachers building digital skills and integrating technology. And so in that aspect, it's very interesting to us at the EdTech Center because all of the PD that we do is around technology integration. And so the fact that microlearning specifically attends to that area of teaching practice is exciting and something worth exploring. So one example of kind of my first foray into thinking about incorporating microlearning was back in, I think it was May of 2023. Yeah, I think it was May of 2023. You can check me on that. But we did a series. We realized that there was so much interest in generative AI, and we wanted to be really responsive to that. And we also wanted to be able to reach as many teachers with the information as possible. So we did a series called EdTech Bites, and we did these 30-minute bite-sized webinars on AI and education. And during the webinars, we included knowledge warm-ups and knowledge checks so that each little webinar would kind of stand alone as a learning experience. And then we took all of those webinars, compiled them in a Google form, and added those same knowledge checks and opportunities for feedback into the Google form. And so in this way, we created somewhat of a course in AI for education, but really in a very simple and streamlined way that was easy to access. One of the badge earners, and you can still earn badges, by the way, using this Google form. I think Ebony could probably track down the link for us, so we can pop that in the chat in a few minutes. But one of the badge earners specifically commented, and we got a lot of good feedback on the format, that I really liked the format of these single 30-minute sessions, and I appreciate how you've created these recordings and this quiz to provide multiple options for participation. So taking those little micro-learning experiences and then even packaging them and putting a badge on them gave us an opportunity to address a really relevant topic and engage a lot of educators. So we took that then into our IDEAL Consortium work, thinking about what else can we offer to the IDEAL members by way of microlearning and expanding access to teacher professional development. So we always are in constant communication with the IDEAL members to see. By the way, the IDEAL members are about 20 or so states. So I'll give you a second look at the map. Are you an IDEAL member? You're red on the map. And if, like my husband, you are colorblind, I don't think he would know which state was red here. You can ask us in the chat if your state is red. But these are our IDEAL members. So these are the states that we work with specifically to provide technical assistance and professional development around digital education. Okay, we have some good comments here. So as we work with these states throughout the year, we're always asking them, what else can we provide to you? How can we support you? And we've heard from them that more opportunities for teachers to engage in shorter PD experiences or even fully asynchronous was a need. One of them commented that on-demand micro courses for high flex and digital literacy instruction might be helpful. So we kind of took that idea of micro courses and developed our crash courses, which are micro learning courses. Each course is about 30 minutes long. They are 100% asynchronous. and that you can self-enroll in the courses. So we have 3 crash courses right now: Intro to EdTech, Intro to OER, Open Educational Resources, and Intro to HighFlex. Our Intro to EdTech course is the one I mentioned at the very beginning. That's open and freely available to everyone. The other ones are for the IDEAL member states. So it's another reason it's good to look at that map and see if you're one of those states. Soon we will add distance education and generative AI to the crash courses. So our process in developing these micro-learning experiences for teacher professional development followed the IDEAL model. You may be familiar with the IDEAL model. It's been around for a long time. It's a model, or really some phases, that are useful in the design and development of courses and learning. I can put the link to the Wikipedia page here in the chat, as you see in my my citation. I said, yeah, that's right. I'm citing a Wikipedia article. The IDEAL model follows 5 phases: analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. So for the analysis process, we thought about 2 things. I think sum it up pretty well: the people, right, the end users of the crash courses, and the technology, which tools we wanted to use to design and develop the crash courses. At the design phase, we started to write learning objectives, determine the structure of the courses and outline for them. And then in the develop phase, we recorded videos, wrote content, and actually started building the courses in Moodle. And we are currently in the implementation phase. So we've rolled all of those out to the IDEAL member states, and they are enrolling teachers, and we're kind of just monitoring that. The last IDEAL phase is evaluate, but it's kind of not the last one because it's something that should really happen throughout the process. And in the evaluate phase, or I should say in the evaluative iterations all along, we analyze usage and feedback, and of course make improvements on the courses. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the questions we had, things we learned along the way of building the crash courses, in case this might be useful to you in your own implementation of microlearning. Like I said, we developed a course outline. So in our analysis process, we thought about who are we trying to reach. We thought about the length, the micro nature of the courses, and we thought about what technology to use. So we knew we wanted to reach adult educators, and we knew that we were going to use Moodle because all of our IDEAL Consortium courses are in Moodle, and then states copy them over to their own LMSs. One great tool that we found to support our use of Moodle in developing the courses was the Moodle Tool Guide. And in fact, I think I can give Justine credit for introducing this to all of us. It's a really great guide that helped us think about what different types, Moodle content types, we could use in these different sections of our course outline. We wanted to include another tool for this activity section. So we had the course outline to cover a core topic, and there would be 3 core topics in every course. There would be some content. So the content is either reading or video. And then there would be an interactive activity for each of those 3 topics. At the end of every course, there would be a finish line assessment and then a try it, which is the application piece. They don't actually do the application in the course, but it gives them ideas for how to apply their learning when they're done, because it's microlearning. So there's not, there are definitely ways you can incorporate that in microlearning, but we wanted to give them some ideas for how to bring it to the classroom. So we were thinking about how to develop the oh, thank you. There's some resources in the chat. How to develop the activity part, the interactive activities. Moodle has a lot of great content types for developing activities, but we wanted to check out some other tools and see what else we could find. So we mapped out as a team, each of us went and researched different tools that we thought could work for building these interactives. And then we met and we used criteria that we've developed in our work to evaluate the use of these tools for the crash courses. The tools we looked at were H5P, ThingLink, 7Taps, and a site called Talent Cards. I'd love to hear in the chat if anybody has used any of those. H5P, ThingLink, 7Taps, or Talent Cards. Cool, Lacey's used H5P. And that's what we went with. We went with H5P. So we chose to use H5P because we were able to first build that in Moodle. So H5P is one of the content types in Moodle. We also wanted every little chunk or artifact in the Moodle course to be something that would be easily free and adaptable for the states. So if a state wanted to take the H5P and change it, they could. If they wanted to take the text or reading and change it, they could do that in their LMS and so on. So we found that H5P enabled us to have that interaction that makes the course a little bit more interesting for the user, but also have that adaptability that makes it a little bit more open for the member states. So I want to show one of the H5P activities really quick for those of you that may not be familiar with H5P, just so you can kind of see how it looks in the course. Let me pop that open. So this is one of the H5P interactive activities in the EdTech crash course. And this one it's called flashcards, and it has them name an E from the Triple E framework, which is an EdTech integration framework that matches the question. So the question here is, does the technology tool aid students in developing or demonstrating a more sophisticated understanding of the content? And I wonder if anybody here might be a Triple E expert to know which of the E's that one is asking about. Is Christy Reyes still here? There she goes. Okay. I figured you'd know that. Enhance. Okay, check. I got it correct. So you can see H5P just gives them something interesting looking, interesting to interact with, but then also some of the immediate feedback that they can get from doing these activities and checking their understanding. So we decided to use H5P for those. So all of the crash courses they are built in Moodle. So they have a Moodle assessment. They have reading or video in them. That's also in the Moodle course. And then they have H5P interactive activities. Another challenge for us along the way of developing these was to think micro enough. We have several experts on our team that know, they could talk to you. I think Jeff is here, Jeff Goomes. He could talk to you about OER for probably 3 weeks straight and not run out of new information for you. So Jeff could definitely write a lot of macro learning stuff on OER. So it was a challenge for us to take all of the content we've already developed, the courses, the professional development, and all of that, and really condense it and try to think micro about it. What we did was we focused on that in the learning objectives, right? So really thinking about what's a reasonable learning objective that you can write for a crash course. Because if it's only 30 minutes, what can we actually achieve in 30 minutes? So being able to actually create OER, for example, in the span of 30 minutes, if you're a very beginner, is probably not feasible. So we probably wouldn't have a learning objective that says create OER for one of our crash courses, but to maybe understand what OER is, or even apply some of that understanding in a crash course is attainable. So we thought about it in writing the learning objectives, and then we also thought about it in terms of learning levels. So we wrote the crash courses, all of them at a very beginner and introductory level, because again, we wanted to reach as many teachers as possible, and we wanted to give them enough to kind of engage them and spark learning that might continue through our other more comprehensive IDEAL courses. Another way that we've done this in the past, this microlearning approach to the micro aspect of microlearning, is to stack microlearning for more coverage. So you might think to yourself, well, I have a whole 6-week course. So how does microlearning apply there? And you can think of it as chunking out a big topic, a big course into pieces and viewing those as individual learning experiences. So we know that all good learning is going to start with some kind of activation of prior knowledge and engagement. It's always going to deliver some information and new skills. It's going to have people apply or test those new skills, and it might have some kind of summative or formative assessment at the end. So thinking about pulling a big course into smaller chunks that still include all of the critical aspects of learning is another way that you can think about microlearning. So one way we did this was in our Transforming Distance Education course. This is a very comprehensive course, and you can take all of the modules and all of the topics and really achieve a high level of knowledge and mastery. Or you can take each module is broken down into individual topics, and you can complete each topic individually and earn a badge for completing that topic. So in that way, you can engage in microlearning within this broader structure. And if you continue to build and stack these, then you get to the big leader badges, more summative badges like the Distance Education Innovator, which is for anybody who completes all of the topics. So thinking of this way of stacking the microlearning or even stacking the credentials and assessments that go along with the microlearning is a way that we can fit microlearning into a framework of, like Nadia mentioned before, macro or meso learning. And then finally, to think about the formative and summative evaluation that happens throughout your process of designing microlearning. So I talked a little bit about the challenge for us of like getting to micro, getting to what can we cover in 7 to 30 minutes. One way we did that was by having people on our team test out the crash courses. So they actually timed themselves to see how much time it took them to complete the courses. And if it was over 30 minutes, then we would have to go back and kind of look at that content and adjust. They also did just typical user testing, making sure that, you know, everything in there was functioning as it should in each section. And now we're in this process of continuously monitoring, seeing if the crash courses are getting used, and if we can identify any points where people are obviously struggling. And then, of course, at the end of the year, once around July, August, we'll do a bigger review and retrospective on the use of the crash courses.